yet again, I might get myself into trouble for talking about the news because I assume the news is dangerous right now. Kind of difficult operating a channel where you just give your opinion about the news. You're not really allowed to do that unless you work for a corporate press, I suppose. That's what free speech is nowadays, isn't it? Is so that newspaper can have the opinion section where they can create fake news. Okay, fine. Let me give you my opinion. So as you guys know, there are a couple of Republicans which decided to object certifying this election. Now, I am being told that this is illegal. It's against the rule of law. Even though the rule of law allows for the objection to take place to begin with. It has been done in the past. And the very fact that you have the possibility of objecting shows that it is within the rule of law. Now, you can disagree with the politics. You can say that people shouldn't vote for them in the future. But you can't say that they're criminals because no judge has convicted them. And the very fact that the procedure allows for this to take place means that it's constitutional. And furthermore, right now, spirits are high. There's a moral panic. People are afraid to talk about things. And you need to think about it in the future, in the next 100 years or so. If you're saying that people cannot object, what is to say that in 50 years there would be an incident which is worthy of objecting? So you're just going to remove the possibility for people to object? I don't know. I mean, if you want that, then pass it into legislation, propose it, and then get it through. And to prove my point, once all of this is over, maybe 2023, 2022, doesn't matter. When all of this settles down, you will see that politicians are not going to try to remove the possibility of objection. And you'll see that people are campaigning on the street to remove the possibility of objection. Because this is not what it's about. Maybe I'm wrong. If I see people just doing that, like activists going on and saying we need to remove the possibility for senators to object to the certification, I'll be like, you know what? I was wrong. It was about principle. But I don't think this is the case. And anyway, this video is not even about that. Like, I'm not even going to talk about that conversation. The reason I'm making this video is that for the first time, a lot of Americans finally understand how their political system is working, and they're horrified. The reason they're horrified is that a couple of businesses, including banks, have decided to stop funding the politicians that have made the objections. And this is what the video is about. It's about corporations using their wealth and their power in order to control senators and representatives. And I don't understand why people are shocked about this. I really do not understand why people are bewildered that this is happening, because this is the American system and it has happened since the dawn of time. Like, the only reason people are shocked is that now it's happening in full view. It's happening in full display. So why do you think companies give money to senators to begin with? Why do you think they finance politicians' campaign in the first place? They want something in return. They desire something in return for their financing. In Europe, if you do something like this, it's called corruption. If a company gives money to a lawmaker in most European states, it's considered corruption. In America, it's considered lobbying. It's considered free speech. The only difference is that they usually do these things behind closed doors. And it doesn't have to do with this particular thing. It can do with any type of legislation. You can have a company that sponsored a politician during its election and gave them millions of dollars, and they can say, look, we want you to do this for us. Now, the reason a lot of people are upset is because they realize that, well, if this is the case, usually the politicians with the most funding, they do win elections. So who will the politician prioritize? Will he prioritize the people that voted for him? Or will he prioritize the companies that donate money to them? And it's not a thing that you would want lawmakers to be in. It's not a position that you would want people to be in. Because, yeah, as a politician, if you go, well, I'm going to prioritize the people and I'm going to prioritize my voting base, then next election you will not have money. You will not be able to gather funds. And because of that, you will not be able to get your message out, so people will not be able to vote for you. And it's usually that politicians will prioritize companies when making a decision. Now, most people agree with this because they agree with the situation. Because of the mainstream media, because of what is going on right now, and because of the tensions are high, they think it's perfectly fine for these companies to say, all right, well, you voted in this way, so we're not going to give you money in the future. But the broader conversation should be, do you not understand that companies do this all the time for all manners of situations? Not just this. Every single time there's a legislation that needs to be passed, you have companies that are weighing in, and they're going to be like, we gave you $100,000 last election for your campaign. You need to do this for us now. And it can be even like just the smallest things, the small. But usually these conversations happen behind closed doors. Now they're happening in front of the curtain. Now everyone gets to see it. And now you're going to have other activists persuading other companies to join in. And what you did is you're creating the ring of power. You're taking the power away from the actual voters, and you're giving the power to just a select few CEOs and corporations. And the big corporations, they can bully the little corporations. Because if you're the little guy, I think like the best example would be with what's happening with Parler right now. Parler is the little guy. They require the big corporations in order to function. And apparently the Parler CEO said that all of the big corporations, including all of their lawyers, decided to back away the moment Google and Apple said that they're not okay. So you have this centralization of power in the hands of a couple of companies that are wealthy, and they can now influence politics a lot more than before, because it's not just money about that we're talking now. We're also talking about the possibility of spreading your message. If corporations have so much power over the internet, they can just amplify the voice of your opponent while suppress the voice of your campaign. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting that America is managing to create a system that is very similar to the Chinese system, but opposite. Because in China, the party controls the corporations, and it seems that in America, it's going to be the corporations controlling the government. But for the person, for the little guy, he's being disenfranchised. Like, your vote isn't going to matter. And again, I want to stress out, I want to make it absolutely clear that this is not about the current conversation. It's not about certifying an election or whatnot. It's just the way things will work from now on every issue, on every single thing. Whether you're talking about global warming, whether you're talking about women's rights, whether you're talking about, gun laws, it will all matter what the corporations think that should happen. And then they can just wave their power onto the politicians. The politicians will sing to that tune. Because if they don't sing to that tune, they're going to have a very, very difficult time. And this means that populism is going to be over. And that doesn't mean just Trump is going to be over. It means that Bernie Sanders will be over as well. Because if you look at something very interesting, the ideology that's promoted right now by all of the social media companies and by all of the wealthy corporations, they're promoting diversity and social justice and, fighting the capitalist system that's dominated by systemic racism and whatnot. And all of this is coming from the establishment. It's not coming from the grounds up. It's coming from the establishment. But the moment you start protesting against the establishment, the moment you get shut down. Best example, when did the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone got shut down? When they started protesting in front of the mayor's house. When did the Portland civil unrest got shut down? When they started protesting in front of the mayor's house. Like that's something that you will notice as a trend. People have been allowed to protest and in some cases even riot, break down buildings and destroy property and whatnot until it moved towards the politicians. The moment it moved towards the establishment, boom, shut down. Notice if you go back and you look at the riots this summer, you'll notice that when they rioted in the poor neighborhoods, the mayors told the cops to stand down. When they went to the rich neighborhoods, all of a sudden there was a police presence. And when they went to CNN, they met what I consider to be one of the heaviest police presences I've seen. Even more so than when they went towards federal buildings like courthouses and whatnot. And this is the reality, okay? ideology of social justice and fighting against the 1%, the millionaires and billionaires, as Bernie Sanders puts it, is a joke. It's a lie. It's not what they really want. They just want you to believe that you're fighting for social justice while you're actually fighting on the side of the establishment. In my opinion, people shouldn't fight at all. Like, in my opinion, people should just be able to vote. But the main issue is, it's kind of difficult to do that while there is money in politics. And this is something funny. The Young Turks, I remember, were the first one that were bringing this up a couple of years ago. They were saying, get money out of politics. They even had like wolfpack.com. They had this movement to try and get money out of politics. Notice how they're not saying anything about that now. Like, all of a sudden, they completely dropped that issue. Because that issue was very popular with people, and they definitely agreed that you shouldn't have money into politics. Politicians shouldn't be held accountable in the hands of a few wealthy elites. But, you know, now it's a complete mute issue. You're not going to hear it anymore. Like, companies will not allow it to become common thing. Sure, I can talk about it in this video, but if this video would get like 10 million views and everyone was like, get money out of politics, it would be suppressed. So it is sad what's happening, and I think it's because the Supreme Court in the United States said that money is free speech. Something that's quite bewildering and something that I do not agree. But again, I'm just a European looking in, and yeah, I can say that this is not okay. And it's one of the reasons I don't like the European Union, because it's the same thing. If you give money to a politician in Romania, it's against the rule of law, like they like to call it. It's corruption. And the European Union is very tough on corruption and following the rule of law. But if you give money to a lawmaker in the European Union, it's lobbying. They even give you a receipt for that. You pay taxes. So, you know, it's funny because the European Union has legislative authority over Romania. So its laws force Romania to make laws that are compatible with the EU. But anyway, right, I just wanted to know what I think about this, because a lot of people are shocked. Like, to me, this is shocking. This is just like normal American politics. It has happened over the past decades, and it's going to happen. It's just that now it's happening in full view. Like, people are able to see the transparency of how politics is being made, and a lot of people don't like it. And I see leftists not liking it either, because it's like, why do companies have so much influence over lawmakers? And you're absolutely crazy if you think that companies do not have influence over leftist lawmakers. They have influence over all lawmakers, because that's how they make money. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the comment section.